So the Decon Chamber, it's a good name, eh?
It is a good name. Who came up with that? Was that
Well,
you?
a little bit of me. It was while we were at San Francisco just now, at the convention up there, and we knew we wanted to do a new thing. I was sitting at the table with Sarah, my girlfriend, and we were spitballing what we might call this thing. She said something like, well, something particular to your show. So I was like, what was really particular that was so... the Decon Chamber. And she just went, you mean the Decon Chamber?
That's it.
And I was like, shut up. And I remember getting a little Post-it note that they often believe on our tables.
Yep.
And in the Sharpie, I wrote D-CON Chamber. And then I kicked you and I went, dude. And you went,
well, that's pretty good.
oh, that's pretty good.
The show has begun. Set your phasers to fun. You're guaranteed for a trip. Trip, trip, trip. Step into the Decon with Connor and Dom. It's the Decon Chamber.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Trekkies and Trekkers, welcome back to another episode of the Decon Chamber. I'm your co-host, Dominic Keating. I'm joined, as always, by my dear friend, my fellow co-host, Mr. Connor Trinneer.
Hey, yo.
We also have in the studio our best buddy, our executive producer, Mr. Dave Tabb is here with his lovely wife, Michelle. It's lovely to see you, Dave. Dave's taking us all out for a lovely celebratory supper this evening to celebrate this, our sophomoric episode. And the belle of that ball will be the guest in front of me. Frankly, the kindest, sweetest, loveliest lady in showbiz that I know. She's an enduring beauty that made the oftentimes treacherous transition from coveted cover girl to accomplished dramatic and comedic actress with the grace and glide of an Olympic ice skater. If I was stranded in the Sahara Desert, bear with me, as I trudged up yet another sand dune, I could only hope to be presented with the vision of her chimera, her mirage, rising up like a golden oasis in front of me. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, she still is and always has been one tall drink of water. Welcome to the Decon Chamber. Oh, that I could be your English patient, Miss Terry Farrell.
Gosh, I want you to introduce me, man.
Oh, darling.
Wow.
You know I love you.
I love you too, hon.
Oh,
it's lovely to see you.
That's our
Lovely
show.
to see you.
That's all we have for you today.
You drove from New Mexico. God bless you. That's
did.
that's a long way to come for us. We're very honoured. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
So what did you do in Flagstaff? I heard you stopped off in Flagstaff.
Yes.
Anything happen?
Went to a Cracker Barrel and...
No, it wasn't that exciting. The Resident Inn was my stop, and what happened to hotels with room service, like real room service?
Have they gone?
Yeah.
How about the minibar?
No minibar.
No minibar. I love minibar.
No minibar, no room service. So
I never allowed myself the minibar. It's
Oh,
fine.
God.
you might as well just go
Two
to the
things.
liquor store. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and I'm going to steal your car.
I'm going to steal your car. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and so I just got a good night's sleep and got back on the road.
How long? How long is the drive?
14, 15 hours.
Wow, it's longer than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and I pack a little cooler so I have snacks so I don't buy bad food at the gas stations.
Slim
and
Jim and
whatnot.
Skittles.
Yeah. No.
Tempting.
Tempting.
So what are you doing with your time in New Mexico now? I mean, are you? I know you studied yoga, didn't you? So
I did.
yeah,
Actually, last year.
you did your 200 hours. Is it 200 hours? Or
Oh,
is it-
I've done like 800 hours.
You have?
Yeah, I've done a crazy amount of.
The last thing I heard,
Yes,
I heard
I
from
went
you,
to a
you'd
treat-
gone.
You were. That's
Yeah.
right. You were
Sri
leaving
Lanka.
Vegas from the big convention, and you were going straight off to.
I was in. Okay, this was last spring. last spring, May, for FedCon.
Right.
I was in
It was after
Frankfurt.
FedCon. That's
Yes,
right.
and I went
Not
from Frankfurt to Dubai, Sri Lanka, and I was in Sri Lanka for a month.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Was it silent? Were you able to talk or anything? Was
I kind of wish it was silent. No, it wasn't, and it was, to learn to teach, and it was so hot and hard to focus.
Because it was hot.
Because it was in there, no air conditioning,
Right.
no windows. But weirdly, you start to adjust to it, and monkey troop that would go through the property every day and at dawn and at dusk, and monitor lizards
Oh, great.
Wow.
roaming the property, peacocks, which
right.
reminded me of childhood because we had a little zoo in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in Beaver Park, and we had a peacock, and we lived, I would say probably 5 miles from there, but you could hear the peacock from our house. And so when I heard the peacocks one morning, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having this weird throwback as I lay naked in sweat with a mosquito net doubled on the top where you can't really feel the ceiling fan, thinking, and I asked for this.
Yeah.
Pain through the
I
nose
swear.
for this
Yeah,
experience.
it was kind of crazy.
Peacocks are stunningly beautiful, but they have a sound that, to my mind, is kill me, kill me,
Come on,
come on.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, but they
So
are
you
beautiful.
can teach yoga
On
now?
the rooftops. Yeah.
Do you have a class?
I did
did,
when we
didn't
lived
you?
in Hershey.
Right.
When Brian and I moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania to raise our son Max.
Symbiont number 1.
Symbiont. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Forgive him, ladies and gentlemen. I studied with Baron Baptiste, and I went away and did the boot camps, and I studied in Lancaster, PA. And actually, I really liked teaching. I did.
What do you teach? Hatha?
No, it was a hot vinyasa flow.
Right.
So power yoga.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that based in Hatha yoga? It's not obviously not Kundalini, is it? It's
No, well, a lot of people think of hot yoga as being, forgive me.
well, there's Ashtanga and
can't think
Iyengar, isn't there? Those
Yeah,
are
I
the sort of,
like-
those are the two powerish
Ashtanga
yogas.
is like, I like it because I'm Gumby.
Right.
So when I was taking those classes, I can put my legs behind my head, all that kind of like.
Keep talking.
But you learn in yoga that there's a balance. So it's not good to be over flexible.
No.
So then you have to work on strength, which actually really mirrored kind of who I was, a little too over flexible and giving in to, oh no, I'm fine, that kind of classic, let me tend to your needs. And then eventually when you get pushed down enough, you start to need to reclaim who you are. And those relationships don't work because you're really never there showing up for yourself to begin with, which is a really tough thing. Yeah.
So
That's a hard truth that I didn't think we'd be talking about. But
I was going to say, how far into the hot yoga did that marriage last?
yeah, we were together for a long time. Yeah,
I did hot yoga once
were.
in LA. I have to say, it wasn't. I mean, I overheat quickly anyway, and it just was murderous, frankly.
Yeah.
A 110-degree room, trying to do all
But
that.
were you doing that really? Oh, what's that guy's?
Bikram?
Yeah,
yes.
Bikram. He got into a lot of
I
trouble,
don't care
didn't
for
he?
that at
A little
all.
bit.
Yeah.
He got into
A
some,
lot of them.
A lot, yeah.
He got into some hot
and then
yoga
Me
trouble.
Too happened. But Bikram is different than, I think that what I really liked about Baron Baptiste's style of yoga was he took a little bit of everything. So it wasn't 110, but
Right.
it was hot.
Right.
And it keeps your muscles loose and it keeps people more focused.
The heat?
The heat.
Yeah, the heat. Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
awful.
Do you practice daily?
Absolutely awful.
And they
It's not
encourage you
your thing, darling. I
not
can-
to drink
I can-
water during it because you're building your heat in your body to basically keep your body as healthy and moving as efficiently as possible. And you're only as flexible, or you're only as young as your spine is flexible. is like a real thing.
Oh.
Yeah, many people cannot, after 40, even get down on the floor and get back up again without using their hands.
All right.
Think about it.
No,
And generally, you're going to have issues. So
I can.
Listen, getting out of these chairs after an hour and a half. Yeah. Oh, the hips.
yeah, I felt that driving here.
Yeah.
I had foot surgery in November, and it's bizarre to me how the doctor said it would take about a year to walk normal again.
Right.
And he
they're
wasn't
right.
kidding.
They're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
I'm still limping, and it affected my hips because I can't walk as far.
It sucks, doesn't it, getting old?
It really does.
I broke my foot earlier a few months ago, and
You did?
oh God.
Right? It's hard.
It's
well,
the
the
worst.
option is to wait until you really can't walk. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I should do it now, because this was right before I turned 60. And I thought, if I wait till I'm 70, how am I going to, I mean,
You ain't going nowhere.
what is it called?
The atrophy?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The atrophy with your muscles is already difficult enough
Yeah.
in your 50s. But,
Let's harken back to when you were 15
okay.
and you write a letter
Oh, gosh.
to the Elite Model Agency in New York.
The first round of pictures I sent, I was 15.
Wow.
And I got, let your eyebrows grow back. Because
Well, they plucked
at
within an inch of their
15
lives in those days.
Oh, yeah. It was the 70s. That was
Yeah.
like, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
nothing, a line, right? And my mom had given me a perm. So it's like, let the hair grow out, let the eyebrows grow in.
It was this true Iowa style with it.
True Iowa style. Then,
I don't know anything about your background. Were you farm girl? Were you?
no,
No?
grew up in the city,
Right.
Cedar Rapids,
Right.
not what you Londoner would call a city.
Right.
It'd be like a town.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a football team?
Yes. We did. We moved a lot, though. So I was often the new kid, which was really hard at the time. But, you know, with what we do or what we did for a living, what we do
Trained
for a
you,
living,
yeah, right.
it makes it easier to always go to the set, and you are forced to make friends. And when that becomes normal for you,
Those short-term families that you
Yeah.
wind up
Do
having.
you have
and
brothers and
friendships.
sisters that you were?
my sister and Chris and I are really
Right,
close.
right.
I have 3 stepsisters,
Right.
but my sister Chris and I have definitely gone through everything together.
Right.
Everything. I mean, we've gone through times where we don't talk to each other much and all of that. And that was when we were younger. And now she's one of my she was my first best friend,
Nice.
and she is one of my best friends. And
Younger, older?
we're very much Irish twins.
Oh.
Younger.
Yeah.
But
Oh, right.
I tell her now, I'm really older just because I'm much taller than you. So that feels like I'm always older. But it was sort of set in stone because my mom was working all the time. So in that sense, we were latchkey kids, and she wasn't home.
Why the moving all the time? What was that?
My mother's life.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
You know, my father, them getting divorced when I think I was 4.
Right.
So there were other moves in there. But my first stepfather, he was a physicist at Collins Radio in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and he got laid off. So then we had to move again.
So you write this letter.
What gave
Yes.
you the gumption to do this, by
Yeah.
the way?
You know, I think we've learned so much about how our childhoods really affect how we move through the world. And growing up, where I had to grow up very fast and take care of my sister and do a lot of chores and things. I didn't grow up on a farm with chores, but because my mom was working and she had to, and then my first stepdad wasn't doing anything.
Right.
And being the oldest, I think all of these things come together and make you the kind of person that has to do it by themselves. And what am I going to do?
Did you feel the weight of that as a young girl? Or was it just something you just sort of naturally stepped up and?
I think it was natural. I think luckily because I was the oldest, that does tend to be the thing. But Chris and I were talking about this yesterday. I kind of felt like I was adopted because of me being so tall. My father was 6'3.5", but my mom, it was like I was in the land of the Munchkins. And I felt like I looked different, and I was tall and awkward, and I didn't feel like I had a family near me that mirrored what I was going through. You know, and I mean, this is all intellectualizing it now, but then it was more, I didn't feel very smart, and I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was 58. So thinking about that's the kind of person I was.
Right.
Not being able to focus, having a lot of energy.
You're an actress.
Yes. There was a long time I felt like as soon as I can get away from here, I want to go find my father. But he died right before my 14th birthday.
Right.
Didn't get to know him. And then the goal was really, I just really felt like I've always wanted to see the world. This may sound crazy, but Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom
Oh, yeah.
and Jacques Cousteau made me think that's my dream job as a kid was I would love to be a National Geographic photographer. Peace Corps. Those were things that were on my mind. But also I realized, as you do as you're a teenager, what are your opportunities?
Yeah.
So as soon as there was a door that was open, I went through it. And I got turned down that first letter. A year later, my hair was grown out.
But they sent back an advisory letter.
Yes,
right?
they
Right,
did.
yeah, so, you know, they obviously, yeah.
And then I had new pictures taken. I went to this school called Corinne Shover's modeling school. And my mom thought that would basically a charm school.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because I was klutzy.
Did you balance books?
Pretty much.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Old-fashioned modeling, right? Like out of the 50s,
Right.
Because I am in Iowa.
All right.
Right, which is actually a super progressive state now. I mean, we're the first ones to pass same-sex marriage.
Is that right?
Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah,
I wasn't particularly aware of that. Iowa.
I know.
I would not have.
Who knew?
Who knew?
So how
did.
old are you when you wind up going to New York?
Elite Model Management, the second round of pictures, a lady named Gara Morris from Elite called, and she was a scout, and she said, "Are you Terry?" I said, "Yes." And, "Hi, I'm Gara Morris from Elite Model Management." My whole body was goosebumps.
Yeah, I bet.
And my mom and dad are upstairs. It must have been a weekend, because this is like, I'm remembering it like a daytime thing, but they're upstairs in bed. And, "Well, we want to come see you. And if you look like your pictures, we want to sign you."
Wow.
Oh,
They're coming to
No
you.
pressure.
yeah. Yeah, like, seriously, I can't believe I didn't wet my pants,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Hang up the phone, run upstairs, tell my mom and dad. And this is the beginning of my junior year of high school, and I'm 16. And so I load up on classes to try, because the plan became, as I talked to my parents about it, that if things worked out, then great, I would have as much of my education as I could. But if things don't work out in New York, then I could come back and go to community college. But my goal was to do as much as I could to get my credits and everything. I think I got everything but a science. I had like one science credit left, and of course gym. And when I took my GED, it was no surprise that I had the highest score they'd ever had, because I didn't drop out. I wasn't I wasn't flunking anything. I just,
Moving on.
yeah, my life was just going in a different direction than expected.
Wow.
So you go to New York, Elite takes you on, and it's really quick, isn't it? You get a
The
contract
first
with
day.
Mademoiselle. Is it
The first day?
The first day I'm there, I'm at the model's apartment, and there was a lady staying to, basically be like the den mother next door. And it wasn't her job, but she worked at Mademoiselle magazine, and I knocked on the door to tell her I was there. And she said, "I want you to come in to the office to Condé Nast on Monday." And I'm like, okay. And kind of feeling like I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Right.
I'm in trouble, but I don't think this is bad. And yeah, they met me and they booked me the first day, and I booked a beauty booking. It was all going to be about makeup and close-ups, and I got punched in the mouth the day before the shoot.
What?
What?
I know. I'm telling you, my life has been so exciting.
Why?
how'd you get
who-
punched in
I'm
the
on a
smacker?
street corner in New
Yeah.
York City, beaming because I can't believe my luck and what's happening. I'd just gone up to and told Johnny that I booked this Mademoiselle, and I'm flying high. The commercial department is, do you want to be an actress? I said, okay. And so they signed me up for acting classes. I've got this booking. I've been there, 48 hours. I get down on the street corner of 57th, 56th, and Lexington, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the street corner, and a bicyclist, one of those bicycle messenger people, goes by, punches me right in the face.
On purpose or?
Yeah.
I was going to say you were just looking too.
Where would my face have to be?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I'm 6 feet tall.
I mean, crikey.
Just
Wow.
You just look too damn happy for New York.
Yeah.
too damn
We'll show her.
We're going to bring her down a peg, I think.
tight Levi's, a tight sweater, totally
God.
70s, right? And I ran upstairs. I had blood everywhere. Then John is so upset. He goes all the way down. Like, you think we're going to find this bike
guy.
messenger?
Right.
Yeah.
But Mademoiselle worked around it.
God bless.
They set up a baby pool, and they decided to do a whole shampoo thing with soap and bubbles. And
So
you couldn't see my fat lip at all.
Oh my gosh.
I was so destroyed, thinking this ruined my one big opportunity. And 6 weeks later, they gave me the November cover because that was my birthday, even though this was in July.
You're like a talisman. I don't know if you remember the first time we ever met. I think it might have been at a creation convention, and for some reason they pushed you and me out to do a panel together.
Yeah.
Do you have any remembrance of
Yes.
that? And we'd never met before.
Yeah.
And she kind
And
of
I
told.
couldn't really hear. That was a really weird.
It was a strange event.
There was a big echo in
But
there.
she
too,
told
yeah.
this sort of, life story about, and then they handed me this, and then they handed me that. And I didn't really want to be an actress, and then they gave me that. And I'm just sitting there going, I hate these people.
Oh no, that's a lie. No,
Do you know how many people I had to sleep with to get to?
Oh my God, so not true.
But
Not
you must
true.
have thought.
No, I did work at it. I went to acting class, and actually,
You did, didn't you? I mean,
yes, I did, and it's not
Kate
that
McGregor Stewart was your first coach. Is
Oh
that
my
right?
God.
Yeah, I dug that one up, didn't I?
Yes, you
Oh
did.
my God.
Why do you know her too?
No, because I do the same research that he does, but for some reason he gets the opportunity to get the guest to go, how do you know that?
I know how to read.
Every time. Every time.
I know the names that it's going to be with.
I was like, totally surprised, but you don't know this. I auditioned to go to Bill Hickey's class at Uta Hagen's.
Wow, that's
And
proper.
I got into his class, and I was beyond excited. It was like, no, this is like, she has a book.
Oh, yeah.
She's the
Yeah.
And then I got paper dolls.
So yeah,
And I thought I'd be in class because paper dolls took place in New York. This is how
this is
naive
playing
I
a
still
model
am.
in a model show now, isn't it?
Oh
yeah,
my
for
God.
ABC, right?
But
yeah.
I'm a cover girl. 3 years in a
Yeah, you did
for 3
Vogue,
years. I
didn't you?
get in this class. The script of Paper Dolls takes place in New York.
Yeah.
I don't think to ask, does it film in New York?
So
No.
where did it film?
Los Angeles.
It was LA.
And I was so excited because I thought, well, that's fine. I can still go to acting class and be in the show.
Nah.
No, you can't.
Nope.
Not when your teacher's in New York.
That's
no
right.
Zoom meetings
Not-
back
not
then.
in
Right.
1980
We didn't
or
even
whatever.
have cell phones.
No.
You must
you-
have thought, though, that I would have thought, coming out of the gate the way that you did, that this isn't so hard.
Oh, it was terrifying.
Was it?
Yeah, because it was a lot. It's a lot.
And you're young.
And it's weird to go from feeling like the girl that grew up with high waters and who was tall and skinny and grew up poor, being teased and running home from school being afraid that so-and-so is going to beat you up, to being on the cover of magazines.
Right.
And having your sisters be jealous.
I bet.
And
yeah.
you're excited and then there's no one to tell. Right? And even the models, all the new models for New Faces, I had to move out of that apartment because who's the girl who's a little healthy
Right.
on the cover, and then there's all these skinny, pretty girls who are cheerleaders and stuff trying to do it, but they don't have the bone structure, right? It's not like
Right.
You can't make somebody be photogenic. You're either are or you're
It's a
not.
blueprint. It is what it is.
You're reminding me of Paper Moon
No.
right now. You don't have the bone structure, honey. You simply don't have it.
No, and you know what's funny is models are really great. I mean, you look at people and it's funny. I didn't think I was in that category at all. I actually thought they kept hiring me because I was nice and I kept having to smile and jump around. That was part of that sporty thing
Right.
that I was.
Leg warmery. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
God.
But the models are very much like really down to earth actors that are like, if I don't get it, I hope you get it. Because what are you competing with? There's no competition. Either they want your face or
No,
my face.
It's really arbitrary like that.
Yeah, and you can't change your facial structure.
Right. So was Paper Dolls a letdown for you as your first acting gig that it was playing a model in a model show? Or
Was I disappointed?
Yeah,
a little.
I mean, it was a proper big network show. I
Yeah.
mean,
A little.
it
'cause
ran.
I really wanted my first thing to be on stage. And I really knew that I was more commercial looking. And so because I was a model, at that time, they didn't take models seriously if they were becoming actresses.
Well, as I said, and the
Yeah.
treacherous leap over didn't work out for a couple.
Yeah.
But for most,
Yeah.
it didn't work
Oh,
out.
and I obliterated my modeling career because I had other people advising me, like my acting agents, they're not going to take you seriously. And then Andy McDowell's a perfect example of somebody who went, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And she did it.
Yeah, she did.
And I just didn't have that kind of chutzpah about myself. I felt like if I break a rule, they're going to send me home.
Right.
That's just how I was raised, right?
Isn't that funny?
What was the life like in New York then? Were you
know
out and
what?
about? And
Sometimes. At first, though, it was kind of lonely because I was 17. And then when those younger girls went home because they didn't get enough work to stay, I was pretty much the only 17-year-old. And so when I'd work with like Nancy Donahue and Kim Alexis, I worked with, those gals are not that much older than me, maybe 3 years or 4 years. But when you're 17 and they're 21, it's
That's a big difference.
enormous. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have proper boyfriends.
Right.
And at 17, it's
DJs
like,
and coke dealers.
yeah, there's not a lot of 18-year-old boys ready to,
Right.
I wasn't frequenting high schools.
Was it the advent of the supermodel then too? Was that
It was
starting to
right
become
before that. Yeah,
Right.
it was right when that was happening. It was hard for me to keep my weight down because I wasn't as, I didn't run as much, and the world was different, right? So the world turned into Tab and Coke, right, as being your Diet Coke and
Right.
There was a great
Diet
T-shirt
food.
in London in those days. Don't feed the models.
yeah, right. And I was eventually
And,
on the death diet, which was just drinking Diet Coke and smoking cigarettes, because how else do you stop shoving food in your mouth?
Right.
And the more nervous you got. So my weight fluctuated, and I think that I would have probably had a better chance of being a supermodel. I was a top model. That I was the fastest model to go from new faces to the elite division.
You were
than it ever
cover
happened.
of Italian Vogue, cover of German Vogue, all within the same year. I noticed that
In 6 months.
the Italian Vogue had you very brunette, and the German Vogue has you very Aryan.
They lightened me up.
Not half.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did.
Just like the Führer would have wanted.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
In 6 months, I was Valentino's model in Rome. We did a big spread for Italian Vogue, and it was
Your feet kind of touched the bloody floor, love.
yeah,
I mean,
it
it
was
must have been
tough.
amazing. But you're out
Yeah.
at Studio 54
It was
and,
amazing.
and hanging out.
Yeah, after acting class, I had an acting class in Hell's Kitchen before it was all gentrified like it is now.
Right.
It was scary. It was one of those. I was really glad I was tall then. I would wear my cowboy boots, a big man's coat, because thrift shopping was
That was
still a
very
big deal.
in, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, and when you're a model for magazines, the first year you make 150 a day. Second year, 200 a day. So this is not the money gig.
Oh.
No, the catalogs are the money
That's the
gigs.
big. That is, isn't
And
it?
those models are like 5'8".
They are, aren't they? Why is why
Because
is
the
that?
clothes are on a certain, like, there's a certain
Because-
last for shoes. You know how there's certain brands.
Couture, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And couture, they do it around you.
Yeah.
Right. So
And they want you for the catwalk, and so that
that's a whole different thing. So I didn't have a lot of money, and I was spending it on acting class in my little apartment. And but anyway, I'd wear a man's hat. I had a little pocket knife. Like, I don't even know what I thought that would do. But as part of one of my acting, I said, I'm going to walk like a man home so nobody with me, right?
Yeah.
And then some of us would walk from Hell's Kitchen to Studio 54, and because I was a cover girl, they say, "Hey, Terry, come on," and they'd be like, "Come on, let's go with her.
Right.
Stay with her," and we'd go out dancing.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was the best.
there are faces everywhere.
Oh my gosh, and people were really doing
Bianca,
crazy.
Mick, everybody.
No, that was the
was the early
70s.
years.
Was that a bit even
I
a bit
would-
earlier? Was it? You're a bit later than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I missed the
Mick wasn't
Yeah.
hanging around still.
no. I
bet
did
Keith-
meet
I
him
bet
at a
Keith
party,
was still.
but
He had his own table.
yeah, I was after the
drip.
reopening. The reopening of 54.
Right.
But it didn't matter. It was still dancing and chaos and
So you do Paper Dolls, and then I noticed you did something with Faye Dunaway. What was that?
Beverly Hills Madam.
Beverly Hills
but they
Madam.
changed the name of it.
Right.
And I was so excited to work with her.
What was there? Any nice Faye stories?
Jeez.
Piece of
just-
work.
Yeah.
Legendarily so.
Really great group of women were playing her prostitutes
Right.
and her call girls, and I was the new girl. So I got a little bit dinged for that in the reviews, because it was like basically playing Lori Caswell only as a prostitute. But who gives a shit? I still got paid.
Right.
So in the first meeting, we were all so wowed by Faye. She was gorgeous, and we couldn't believe she's doing this TV movie with us.
What year
and
is it?
80. It was before Back to School, after Paper Dolls.
It must be about 88, 89, was it? Or even
I don't
87?
remember now. No,
Something in there.
84.
Is it as early as that?
Yeah, I think so. But she took like
So yeah, Paper Dolls was
wardrobe.
82. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm
took my
thinking through.
wardrobe out of my dressing room. I'm like, yeah, try to change my lines. None of her business. None of this is any of her business.
Right.
And I was getting my hair done for something, and 80s hair with a lot of hairspray and curlers. And she took the brush from the hairdresser. I don't see this, but I feel this pull on my hair. I turn. Faye drops the brush and runs out of the room.
Oh, cray.
Crazy pants.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it continued in my life, because I went to Europe to be with my boyfriend at the time, who also wanted to work with her. And I went to go see her in a play she was doing, and she kind of blew me off backstage. They ended up working together. She ends up calling me while I'm visiting my aunt. Some crazy hour, but it's only because, God bless my aunt. You imagine someone saying, "Hey, this is Faye Dunaway. I'm calling for Terry Farrell." Suddenly, nobody knows what time it is. Terry, the phone's for you, and it's like, no, you got to be kidding me.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah. I do remember one time, though, this is kind of fun. Marina Sirtis and I were at Neiman Marcus buying shoes, and we were trying shoes on, waiting for Our Lady to bring the shoes over. And I look over, and not as far away as I am from you right now, Dominic, Faye Dunaway sitting right there. And I'm like, don't say anything. Like, I'm thinking, please, God, Renee, don't just go, hey, right?
I can just imagine.
Just
Marina
let her
going,
sit there.
"Fuck me, it's Faye Dunaway."
She pulls out the brush.
That's probably with my hair still stuck on it. Oh my gosh, what a disappointment.
What about Rodney Dangerfield then?
Yeah.
What a
he
gent.
was lovely.
Was he lovely?
He was. I was so nervous to read for that movie, and I didn't know he was going to be sitting in the room when I came in. And there were a lot of parts. We all go through our morphosis of becoming actors and feeling confident and getting a handle on what it's like to audition. And a lot of times being 6 feet tall definitely did not work to my advantage. And especially because having this girl next door look and vibe about me, it didn't actually go together with a 6 foot tall person. It goes together more with a more demure physicality, maybe. Yeah. So I was feeling like, I don't know why I'm in here. This is going to be a disaster. But the director was short, and he was married to a tall woman. And he mentions this in the interview. And then in comes Rodney, and he's sitting in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really such a big fan. And I used to live across the street from Dangerfields in New York. And I tell him this.
Oh.
And his hair is snow white, all snow white. And suddenly I find myself in my body going, okay, do that exercise where you're trying to, I look at the pencil. And as they're talking with each other, I'm like, close your eyes and visualize the pencil. There's the rubber, and how does that feel? And I'm doing this whole
very Stella Adler.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
right.
I was in
took
her class too.
too.
And that's exactly what I was doing. And then he asked me, he asked me something about that, and then I explained what I was doing. He said, Terry, you're going to be fine. We're really happy you're here. Which, it's weird how that can make you...
just settles in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It all just flies out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got the part. And it wasn't just that he was sweet to me on the set, like he'd come and tell me silly jokes at the beginning of the day. He'd come up in a robe and slippers, and it was just, he'd knock on my door. I just remember one time he had a toupee on, and he's like, hey kid, hair today, gone tomorrow. And I ran into him. There used to be a really groovy airline called MGM Grand, and it did first class. The whole plane was first class, and this was in the 80s.
Did it only fly to Vegas?
It only flew to New York.
Only flew to
Yes.
For the other Vegas. Yeah.
Yes. And yes. And I flew it a few times. And MGM Grand.
I've never heard of it. Oh.
Yeah. And I sat next to this guy that was hitting on me. And I already knew Rodney was on the plane, but when we're in flight, then his bodyguard came up to me. And in the back, there were, basically they were like cars in a railroad. You can shut them, but there's glass,
Yeah.
and there's partitions if you want, and all of that. So he could see what was happening with this jerk and I couldn't get away from them. And something else popped in my mind, but that's not gonna that will derail the story.
We got
my
the list
medication's wearing off.
Rodney's like, hey kid.
His bodyguard came out and said, "Are you okay, Miss Farrell?" And I said, "Not really." He said, and then in a full voice said, "Mr. Dangerfield would like to invite you to come and sit with us in the compartment back there." I said, "Excellent. So nice to meet you."
Right.
I say to the guy, and then I sat back with him, but and I saw him at parties and stuff.
What a nice thing.
Yeah, really
That's nice.
Nice man. And not that frantic that you'd expect.
Right.
A lot of comedians do. They're always on. They're always
Yeah.
on.
Right.
He wasn't like that. He did have a real down-to-earth, kind, fatherly way.
He wrote that film Back to School. I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah. What was great is, though, that halfway through, this is not great. He got gout, and we had to stop for a month.
Right.
What was great is all of us still got paid, and we were getting that scale plus 10 thing.
Nice. Yeah.
So for us back then, that was a big ass deal to be built.
You got the gout bump.
Right.
Oh, the gout bump for sure. And then when we came back, we would shoot in the morning, and then at lunchtime, he would get on the phone with Harold Ramis, and they would do rewrites.
Right.
So about an hour after lunch, suddenly we'd break for the day. Nope. Because Rodney's doing rewrites, but it worked because that film was the highest grossing film that summer. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And we all got, at the time, this was a big deal. I got a check for like 10 grand. And back then, first of all, that was just really generous to send it to us.
Right.
It was just a nice bonus. And
Do you
we were
still
all
get checks?
kids.
Do you still get SAG checks from?
I like $1.25.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I can't even buy a cup of coffee with it.
It's the foreign ones that get me. I mean, if you are a Star Trek fan, you live in Switzerland or Belgium, and apparently you're getting this show for like 3 cents an episode.
Yeah.
It kills me.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I get pages and pages and pages, and it all adds up to 11.25.
That's right.
Yeah. But you know what? In the day,
Yeah, back in the day,
it was like getting 2 checks.
yeah, no kidding.
Right.
So our low salaries at the time, at least there was the low salary check, and then the rerun check,
Yeah.
which made it feel like a normal
So
network show.
Where does Deep Space Nine come in then? So you're in LA for quite a little bit. How
Yeah.
many years have you been in LA before?
Oh, and I kept trying to move back to New York.
You did.
Yeah.
You didn't like LA.
No, it was too back in the, when did I move? In 84 Olympics is when I moved.
No, right.
Slow.
All right.
Rush hours were rush hours.
A lot of turtle.
Nobody was in their office till
Yeah.
10. I'm used to the modeling agents being there at 8 a.m.
Right.
So it's like, who are these people? What are they doing? Why aren't they like, come on, I'm used to New York energy.
Right.
And so I kept trying to move back there. I'd go back and I'd stay with friends or rent an apartment, and then I'd have an audition. And
Come back to LA.
Who was repping you in LA then? When you go in for Deep Space Nine? Who's?
Deep Space Nine. Who was I with for Deep Space Nine?
Did you stop around agencies quite a bit?
Not a lot, but I think part of the problem I had was when I was with Michael Bloom.
Right.
And I was with Michael Bloom for Paper Dolls.
I met with Michael at the beginning, and he was a nice man.
Yeah, I'm sure he liked you very much.
He did, yeah.
He liked young men, or he did.
Yeah, not enough to
Rest
set me
in
on,
peace.
as I remember. God bless
May
him.
he
Yeah.
he had the best parties in New York at his brownstone in New York. So I was with him, and I had a relationship that derailed me with my career for a while. And when I came back from that, I was really close with Mimi Rogers. We became very close during Paper Dolls, and like a big sister, she really took me under her wing. Thank goodness.
This is after Tom, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be.
round
It'd
about
probably be
Tom.
no,
just
Paper
around.
Dolls was
No,
before.
I'm talking about Mimi and Rogers and Tom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, They were married, weren't they? Tom Cruise, I'm talking about. You know.
Yeah, but not when we were doing Paper Dolls.
No.
So after she and Tom split, she and I bumped into each other at a party. I was there on a blind date that Michael Bloom set me up on, and that was a car accident. But the best part was, here I am at my friend, at Mimi's friend Natalie's house, this party. So I bump into Mimi, and I end up, this guy's like, have you ever been to a Hollywood party? And I thought, oh my God, what an asshole. And I'm like, not many. We get in there, and I know almost everybody at the party, and he doesn't know anybody. So it was kind of funny. But so Mimi and I reconnect, and then I go to New York to read for a few things, and I read for one of the soaps. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because he said, you know what you should do? You're going to get a soap, you're going to meet a producer, and then you're going to move to Connecticut and have a bunch of babies. And when I told Mimi this, she goes, you know what you do? You go get that part, and then you tell him to shove it up his ass. And I did. I got the part. They're going to change a storyline because I'm 6 feet tall.
Right.
And it wouldn't have worked with who the audition was about. And I said, and I would have been happy to do the job, except for I didn't have that picture of my future in my head. And I watched, do you remember Kim Delaney?
Oh, yeah.
She modeled, but then she went right into All My Children, and we had the same modeling agent. And so I knew a little bit of what her life looked like being on All My Children. And I thought, well, that's a ton of work.
Oh, it is.
And scary. You have that memorized every night, and you have no life. And
40 pages.
Yeah.
it did not look like a lot of fun. It looked like it's going to suck the joy
kinda
right
slave
out of
labor in a
acting.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It is.
I'm glad I got the part. I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to find a new agent. I ended up at an agency, and I think this happened to me a lot, where people just unfortunately just really pegged me as the model and didn't take me seriously. And then when I finally ended up with Don Buchwald and Associates,
Solid.
I had already had,
Right.
I already had Deep Space, and I left the person I was with that I got, and I don't want to give him any airtime because why help that person? But Don Buchwald and Associates, they were great to me. Don really helped me a lot. And when my contract came up from Deep Space, a year before it was up, we had been talking about what would it look like in the future. What would I like to do? And that agency made me feel empowered to talk about what I wanted to do, how I saw myself, and they listened to me. And I really had the attitude of like, you know what, if it's not this job, it's going to be something better.
When you joined Deep Space, how did you, I mean, you were surrounded by some really stalwart, seasoned actors.
Yeah.
I mean, was that intimidating a bit? Or did you feel, did you, how
think
green did you feel when you stepped onto those stages?
I think I felt more like I was covered in rust for not working for such a long time.
How long was it?
By the time I'd gotten that, I did a bunch of guest stars. That was back in the day when you could just live on doing guest stars to get your confidence back up.
Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Quantum Leap.
yeah, God bless.
Yeah, that was an amazing show. I really loved working on that show.
He's just a gent,
Isn't
isn't
he a
He's the
dreamy
nicest
guy?
man in the world.
Oh, I had
He
such
really
a
is.
massive crush on him.
He defines a mensch.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
Such a nice man.
Yeah.
We were so lucky to have him as our, captain
Yeah,
for
yeah.
those years. He made them joyous, and God bless him.
Yeah.
Did you get offered DS9 or did you read for it?
Oh no! When the audition came up, this was in the spring of '92. But we used to have pilot season would start in
Yeah.
January.
Remember that?
They'd say January, but it really didn't get into full swing till the very end of January, beginning of February.
Right. Because you had to shoot because you were shooting in March
Yeah.
usually.
But if you hadn't, yes, I was going to say, if you hadn't booked anything by April, your
Take a
year
vacation.
was done.
Yeah. Get ready for the guest star roles.
Right.
Yeah. And they told me about the part, but they didn't want to see me. And it's fine. There's some places where you just, I don't know if it's true for you, but there's some casting directors like it just seems like you always have a audition with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like that was the
couple.
case for me and Junie Lowry. And I felt like, God, I just couldn't get my foothold. And it just felt like I was kind of jinxed. So I totally understood that was the way she was feeling about no, she can't handle this. But I thought, there were other things I was reading for. And at the time, when you think about it, I was 28. So I was right for a lot of things at
Yeah.
28. So you're auditioning like 4 times a day. To not get an audition then was no big deal because I have wardrobe in the back of my car. I'm changing clothes and doing different
Right.
things. But I ended up getting the pilot of Red Dwarf to play the cat.
That's right.
That's right.
For my buddy, I know Danny John Jules since we were in our early 20s.
Get out.
No kidding about that. We met at a dance class in Pineapple Dance Studios
Oh my.
when we were both starting out. So
a funny
he'll be
name.
delighted. I'm in touch with him again, and
Oh,
I'm
my-
actually thinking of getting him on the show. And you went
Oh,
you went
well-
up for his part, Cat.
Yeah. And I saw the pilot and I'm like, I can't be an effeminate black man. This is not going to be funny. This is not going to be funny at all. But you know what? I'm going to look really cool as a cat.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I did. I looked really, they did like cats makeup on me.
All right.
Like
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Cat suit. Oh, I looked wicked.
I bet you
I
did.
looked wicked.
Of course, then you wind up playing a 300-year-old symbiont.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm so curious about
Alien.
what.
okay, so that they
The
do
description.
it doesn't work out. The description. So that doesn't
They
work
shoot that
out.
pilot. I thought, did they do
And
two
then they
pilots?
recast. Yes,
and
they did. But what's funny is Craig Bierko and I worked together on that. I love Craig. There was a pilot by the creators of Moonlighting that I did. And we were both testing for it. It was like the 2 blondes were testing and the 2 dark-haired people were testing. And when I saw them doing their test and I saw Craig and we had already done a TV movie together, I was like, this chemistry isn't working. I should be doing this with Craig. and that they did the pilot, but our chemistry, it just didn't work out. Like Howard and I didn't mesh.
Yeah,
I mean, he hated me.
Oh.
Hated me. Because I'm like I'm all in my method acting, and I'm like bouncing off the walls being this character Mimi, and I loved it. I loved playing her, but I think that Craig and I would have been a much better
fit.
Yeah, because, well, I felt like he at least knew me a bit to like me. You know, he didn't hate me.
Right.
we got along as friends and bumped into each other. Anyway, so that didn't work out. They recast that. That show didn't work out
It was
at
a tough
all.
translation comedically too. I think that it was so peculiarly British at a
Yes.
time when America wasn't ready for something quite so
No.
peculiarly British. They are a bit more
And
these
it couldn't
days.
translate into working. You couldn't use the same humor for me.
No.
It's just not funny.
No, it's not. It's actually a bit queer.
Yeah.
Not in the right sense of the word.
No. Yeah. In the
Yeah.
original sense of
In
the
the
word.
original sense of the word, yeah.
So that was my blessing in a way that it didn't happen, because pilot money was pilot money back then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was
two
too, wasn't it?
episodes was
Yeah,
a
it's
pilot.
proper money.
And then that was still up, that audition for Star Trek, and they still wouldn't see me. And this is like, they started filming in July, beginning of July.
Right.
And then I didn't start auditioning for it until August, I think. And I got it on August 22nd. But I read for it, and I was really nervous, and they were really kind, and there were like 15 people, and even Rick Berman. I said Jadzia wrong. I don't know how I said it, but I said it wrong. Pardon me. And we thought that was the last round of auditions, but there was one actress that didn't show up, and I'd been reading against her for like a couple of years. And I said, they're having another reading for this woman next week. And I'm like, okay, and what time should I be there? Oh, no, Terry, that's like against a SAG rule. You can't. No, I'm waiving that. I'm waiving that. Whoever is, I need to show up, because they need to know, first of all, that I want the part, and then I'm not afraid of making a mistake, because if I keep showing up, then they know I'm in it. I'm in it for the long haul. And that's, I was kind of,
So you
I hung up the phone and kind of went, what did I just do?
You crashed it in a sense?
No, I waived it, and then they okayed it for me to come, which then they weren't filming them. They were just watching you.
right,
So that was even more important to show
Yeah, you had
up.
to show up in the room.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those days when it was a performance in front of
I
the
like that too.
Sadly, they're
the
gone.
15 people that would make the decision.
Yeah, and you're walking through the proscenium
Yeah.
when you're walking through that
No
door.
kidding.
So it's please also, let's not have the chat. Let's just go right for it.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
people that chat you right out of,
Having any focus.
I was so focused. Yes, yeah.
It was
That-
rare in America. I
frustrating.
mean, I remember the one job I went back to England, I got on some show there, and God knows this guy, the director, he wanted to talk for 3 hours to read a 5-page scene. I was like, I wasn't used to it. It was like,
But you have a gift that I don't, which is, and we've been in a room together a couple of times, and you can say hi to everybody and chit chat. No, Dominic Keating, you go in and then you nail it. I have to be staring at the corner
gotta go
of the
into the
wall.
corner of
I
the-
can't be talking to anyone. I have to stay focused before my audition.
You do.
I do. Yeah, I can't. I don't have the gift of the gab in between that at all. I can't. In fact, I think you screwed up one of my auditions by talking to me.
It used to be my play.
I think it kind of depends on the conversation, you know, if it would throw me off or not. If it felt too personal and out of not about the
context in a
work,
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
felt like, why are we here?
Right. I can barely have the conversation because in the back of my mind, I'm like, my lines are this. I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm only present for the actual thing and not,
Right.
I don't think that's probably helped me in my career.
It's difficult. I think I do better in a room.
Well, those days
I
are over
think
now.
that
Oh,
because
yes.
I like you, I think I'm more.
Did you always hold the script, or did you put the script down?
It would depend.
Yeah.
It totally depended.
Yeah.
On,
If I felt
on what was happening.
Mostly, if I felt really confident, it was a moment where we go, I think, and I make you go,
Yeah.
I think you'd look at the person reading with you. I think I've got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll go.
And then sometimes,
Whoa.
if you want it really bad,
Yeah.
it'll psychologically backfire on you. So it's
Yeah,
like,
it can. I mean, and
you know what? I want this too badly in your head.
yeah,
So even if I just have the little,
yeah, it's just to hold it as a prop.
yeah.
Agreed.
And sometimes, at least for me, the notes that I make get stuck in my memory. So if I glance down and see that one little one note or
right.
word circled, I might not know what that word is, but it reminds me of the entire piece of dialogue.
What was the description of Dax?
Oh,
Yeah, that three-line bio.
350-year-old
Yeah.
symbiont
Right.
inside a 28-year-old woman.
All right.
Yeah.
Not an easy task.
7 lifetimes of experience.
Right.
Yeah, that was scary and exhilarating at the same time. Sort of like, huh.
I mean, how do you inhabit that? I mean, what sort of with a method that you trained with, what
You have to drop it.
Yeah. Right.
Drop it. And fortunately, I had a really good mentor, Judith Cummings, good friend of mine. I like a mom mentor
Right.
in terms of she gave me books on Taoism to read about DAX. We talked about that.
All right. Very interesting.
Also, I broke down my life because I can kind of compartmentalize things that have happened to me, right? So my father, that life, my stepfather, that life, elementary school, starting working when I was 11, 9 o'clock, when I was 9, not at 9 o'clock, at 9, I started working in my mom's hair salon, cleaning it and doing towels, cleaning it every night after school, that kind of thing. It was just all kinds of crazy things that you do when you grow up in a family that's trying to scrape everything together to make ends meet, you know.
Draw from it.
Yeah, you do. And that was section. And then there's, junior high when I started doing sports and making friends and started creating my own community. And then high school was a whole nother thing. And then I left early. And then I was a model. And then I was a cover girl. And then I, was in acting class. And I've traveled crazy, interesting places. And I almost died from hypothermia and frostbite in the Arctic.
Excuse me?
Yeah. And
Is that a bikini shoot?
GQ. Yeah, they forgot about me in the background. That's what you get for being the only girl.
That's right.
When none of the guys are that interested in you. So all of those things in my life, the chapter of when I basically let my career slide to be in a relationship, I've had a very colorful life. So I could look at DAX that way.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And the side of DAX that when people say, yeah, but you flipped from masculine to feminine, it's like, I'm a 6 foot tall woman. I am a big sister. I took care of my sister. I took care of the household when my mom was working hard to make sure that we actually had food to eat. And my deadbeat first stepfather wasn't doing anything. There's just ways you start to pull it together. And I would say one of the most interesting things, and this is a little sidetracky, but in my own human development, when I was playing DAX, I was also working out a lot. And after a really difficult relationship, I was building up like emotional armor to try to protect myself. And DAX helped me create that. I did kickboxing and running and spinning. And I was really like an athlete the way my body was at that time. But I didn't realize how much, damage it was doing to me and not being able to be completely vulnerable in my life. I didn't feel safe to do that. I felt safe to do it in scenes, in acting, but I didn't feel safe to do that in my own life.
That's very interesting.
That breaking down of all of that, I think.
Because I know you went to Avery at one point and said, look, you know, I feel you're treating me like I am this 350-year-old man, and you're here, you are a seasoned, you know, Shakespearean actor. And
our first scene together.
Yeah, and
he called me old man, and I was supposed to like take it in stride. And this is like, remember, I was the last person cast. Everybody's already bonded. Our sets were enormous, and everybody had stage experience.
Yeah.
And I did not.
Yeah.
And with stage experience, a lot of those actors have a certain viewpoint on actors that don't, they don't have the gravitas.
Agreed.
So they immediately have this sort of snobby attitude, which they cover with politeness. But I'm not an idiot.
Your ability to do the craft.
There's no support.
Right.
And everyone's expecting me to be at the same speed. Meanwhile, of course, I've probably lost 20 pounds since the first audition because of nerves and no sleep and the dialogue my character has to begin with.
Yeah.
I think it was more that part of the environment that made me so nervous, that felt green and came across green because I wasn't feeling welcomed and included. And
sets can be like that. They can be very, very cold, dark places.
When did you find the place where you felt like you belonged?
Oh, actually, I found out later that one of the directors who I thought didn't like me was actually like me very much. And wanted to protect me, and they were talking about firing me
early on.
Yeah,
quite early on.
Pilot, and you know how that is. It's you get
Grim.
It's the pilot. You can get fired after that. You can get fired after the first 7, 13, and then you've got the rest of the year if you can make it through 13. But they can drop you after the pilot, drop you after 7, drop you after 13 without any penalty.
Right.
And the agent I had, who I let go, wasn't helping inspire me. It was like, oh my God, you're going to get fired. It's like,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, great. How do I handle that?
Yeah.
But this director got me a coach, and the coach said, Terry, there's nothing wrong.
God knows, the TV directors don't do that.
No, they don't.
You know.
And his name was Paul Lynch.
God bless him. Bless him.
And he thought I did just what I could have used to hear that information at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Ivana Chubbuck became my acting coach, and I went to her house.
You know, powerhouse.
Heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And she was like, Terry, they want you to do something that isn't right for this character. I like what you're doing. Keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And I kept trying to find little sarcasm, little thing of humor, because in my mind's eye, if you're alive for 350 years old,
you've got to be slightly wise and snarky.
Yeah.
You've seen it all.
Right? Sense of humor. You see these adults, like, okay, so even Avery's character, Captain Sisko to Dax, he's a young man of 50.
He's a child.
Yeah.
He's a baby.
Right.
Yeah.
He has no idea.
Right.
Right? And she would not only do the disservice of not help support him finding his own way, but she would also enjoy watching the struggle for the first time in a human when she can remember it in her past lives. And she loves people, and she enjoys them, and she follows the struggle. And
how did you manage to bring that to the set that first time then, with that renewed?
I think it was gradual, because
was it?
I think I was doing it, but when on Delta Flyer's journey through the wormhole, we're rewatching everything. And
what's Delta Flyers? I've heard of it.
Yes, you have, you stinker.
It's a podcast I've heard about.
Another podcast. There's no competition, though, because it's completely
different,
right?
Yeah. No, we love them.
But it's really helpful. I watched it back, and I can see where my nerves are getting the better of me. But it really isn't.
In the show
Yes.
itself? Yeah.
if I saw that back and I was an acting teacher watching an actor go through that, you would see that it's nerves. You wouldn't see, you don't see that there's some big flaw in what I'm doing. She's nervous.
You'd see nervousness, right?
Try to stop bringing her up to the office with a ton of notes that don't make any sense. Just let her keep doing what she's doing.
But they don't often get it. They're not cut from the same cloth. They don't think the same thoughts. And
no, and there was no woman telling me this information.
No, so it was particularly that group.
Yeah,
it was all blokes.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And but I just, having her, she said, you know, you need someone to run lines with you. I'm happy to have them pay me to do that with you. But meanwhile, how about I help teach you how to break down a script in a way that will complement me having this method experience and put it to the task of breaking down my script so it's more doable, it's quicker, and so I can access what I want to, how I want to tell my story and tell it to the audience as efficiently as possible, because on a TV crew you don't have time.
No.
And they change it right away, so you have to be ready to do these things differently. So I am forever grateful to Ivana Chubbuck, because I then used her for TV movies and independent movies that I did afterwards.
Right.
And then we lost touch, like all things. She got busy writing her book, and
right. It's the way of our business, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do projects and you swear to God that we're all going to be friends, and then life happens, and
well, then you still are, but then life takes you. I mean, look, if I had the time to be friends with Roz Chow, I would be inseparable from her, because she's amazing. But she was a mom when I wasn't, and your lives go in different directions. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't be pals if your lives were constantly intersecting with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've got some seminal episodes too in the show, and I was watching some of them recently, prepping for you coming in today. Blood Oath, that was an amazing episode. To work with those three actors that had played the original Klingons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Michael and Sarah, and Bill Campbell, and John Colicos.
John Colicos.
Yeah.
Koloth, Kang, and Kor. And well remembered.
Yeah, good on you. And, good on you.
I know that you've said before that because you had to act separately, independently as a character with each one of them, and that was very fun for you to do, and you did it very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then of course rejoined, which was the big, kissing
Avery.
episode. See, and Avery directed you in that, didn't he?
Yes, and that scene where we do kiss is intentionally a oneer.
Right.
Because he didn't want them to cut the kiss down.
It was beautiful. And she was Susanna Thompson, the actress opposite you.
Amazing.
Fantastic, wasn't she?
Yeah, amazing, talented, super talented actress. And kind, wonderful woman. Yeah.
I know I was watching the DS9 documentary, and Ira said that he didn't give himself a tick for bringing that show front and center into the modern world of that kind of relationship.
How do you mean?
Well, I don't know. He didn't think that Deep Space Nine did enough, that they could have done more, that they could have done more episodes like that. They could have, they could have made Garrick a gay man.
Well, you know what? But they made a big deal about it. Steve Oster brought me the script at the end of work one day and said, I want you to read this and take your time. Let me know what you think. We want to make sure you're okay with everything. And of course, I'd never had them say that to me before. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because of the hidden messages within our fabulous sci-fi world, that we tell stories that people aren't comfortable with in another format. And so, of course, I don't think I finished dinner before I finished reading it. I was so excited to read it. And I called him and I said, yes. But when it aired, the affiliates started preempting it.
They did, didn't they?
So that's another reason why. So it's almost like a ghost. You can say, oh, I wish I would have done, but you have to remember you're in a different place today than you were back in the 90s. And even on Ellen's show, when she came out and she kissed someone, they made a joke about it.
Yeah.
When Brooke Shields had her show, two girls kissed, they made a joke about it.
I was
But
watching some
our
Becker this
show-
morning. I mean, they made a lot of jokes that you just go, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
And that's why it didn't do well in syndication.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You think?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh.
There's that story of the PA picking up the phone and some woman, my daughter had to watch da 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 da. And the PA said something like, well, would you prefer that she'd watch someone shooting someone's head off?
What? That's funny?
You did, yeah. Like,
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's a story I think you've told before.
Goodness.
But that it's okay to watch, you know, someone murdering someone, stabbing them in the neck.
Oh,
but
sure.
to watch two ladies kiss
Oh, no.
on screen.
We
oh,
can't
no.
do that.
Oh, they were like upset that
Absolutely
parents
not.
didn't get a warning and
Yeah.
but it's just, you know,
Of a time.
well, I think there's still I mean, look, the bubble we're living in, that how did, you know, the orange man become president the first time?
Right.
I was in a bubble. I had no idea how many people were out there that didn't see the world not only a little bit differently than me, but like
All the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They
Let's
don't
not go there. It might happen again.
I
We're
know.
not,
That's so
not
terrifying.
out of those woods yet.
So I guess my point is there
Yeah.
is still a group of people that if that show aired for the first time for them, they would have issue with it.
Right.
Otherwise, our brothers and sisters of the trans world, LGBTQ community, wouldn't be fearing for their lives to walk around and just live their lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so when he says he missed ticking that box, I think that's
Well, maybe.
I think they did a lot that was great with the show. And kudos to Ira because he's a fantastic writer. And they gave us so much to do. Ron Moore,
Yeah.
Renee Echeverria,
Yeah.
Robert Hewitt Wolf
They
wrote
were
a lot
great
of
writers.
great
I've
episodes.
said before that DS9 is my favorite of the series.
Who is
Yeah.
that?
DS9 is my favorite.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
watching a lot of it. I have
Yeah,
to say,
it's
it's a class act.
Thank
It really
you.
is. Your last episode, Tears of the Prophets.
Yeah.
That's been difficult.
Yeah. Well,
Coming out a season early, knowing you were coming out a season early.
that was the end of my contract.
It was.
It was.
It was.
And I had been, unfortunately, there were a few things that happened. A good example, Jerry Ryan and I both did the cover of TV Guide together, and then they had separate issues with each one of us. But that's when Jerry and I spent the first amount of time together, and it was kind of fun to put her at ease when we were modeling for it because I was very comfortable, and a lot of actresses don't feel comfortable, and I think I put her at ease, which was really nice to us to befriend each other in that moment. And when it came out, my agent got a call from Seinfeld. Jerry would like to meet Terry. Now, as you know, when you're working on a show, that invite has to be cleared by your boss.
Right.
Otherwise, you can't go take the meeting because they don't want to meet you and then not get to have you.
Right.
Well, Armin had done their show. So I figured, oh, this is going to be great. This is like, there's no way this is not going to happen. No, they won't let you do it.
Did they say why?
No, they did not say why, but my only thought was, well, you let the guys out to do stuff, but you don't let the women out to do stuff. And I think I'm a woman. I can't think of another reason why I can't go for 5 days out of a 10-day shoot when I think of how many episodes where I've had one line or I haven't even been on camera.
Yeah, and you don't have a 6-hour makeup program to go on camera either. So, you know.
That would be a gift to do for me.
Right.
But that you're saying no, and why would I want to sign for the 7th and 8th season if you're not giving a little?
If it's ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it felt like sexism.
It was a boys' club, that building, that's for sure. We were the last of the boys' club era, I think.
And yeah, I had to. You don't help somebody create a character like Dax. And I grew. I grew so much. I mean, that first 6 months compared to the last 6 months, I was a very different person. It didn't mean everybody treated me differently, but I was very much feeling ownership of my ability to help tell a story and be an important member of that storytelling.
Yeah.
I was no longer the one that everybody's shaking their head going, oh, God.
Well, we got to get through this.
No, you're
Yeah.
terrific in the show.
Yeah,
Love.
you are
I've-
fantastic.
Thank you.
I've said it many
Thank
times.
So good.
Subtle and nuanced, and when they gave when they finally gave you a proper haircut, the helmet at the beginning was a little
Oh, my God.
quite a lot to take.
It was.
So they can really up some hair, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
by the end of
know.
it, you really were flying. And,
Thank you. But so I even offered to look, this isn't, it doesn't have to look like money.
No.
It can look like just let me be reoccurring.
Did am I right in
And
thinking
it was all or nothing.
that when you jumped ship to Becker, was that also at Paramount? Did they shoot?
See, that's what you were saying about the day. So the day that I was dying on Deep Space Nine, I had already been auditioning for Becker for 6 weeks.
Right.
So I knew the very next day I'm going to die. I have to relinquish my parking pass and all of that. And the next day I'm coming on as a visitor to read for Carrie McLuggage and all of the Paramount executives for a show called Becker. And I walked in and I'm like, is this going to be okay? And they're like, Terry. So everything was definitely
What a
okay.
poke in the eye.
Wow.
As you move
And
into how many years? 4 or 5 years on Becker?
4 years on Becker, and
Now, I know Alex Desert quite well. He was my neighbor for many years. I played golf
okay,
with him
you're
a
going
lot.
to say that again. Desert.
Desert, sorry. Alex Desert. He was fussy about that.
Well,
Alex Pudding.
he is a dessert because we always want more.
And oddly enough, Shawnee Smith, I knew before she, when I first arrived on the shores, I met her in Malibu. She was living at Brian James's house, who was the badass in Blade Runner.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were both terrific on that show, as you were.
We're getting this.
Are we getting the?
Yeah.
Well, God
Such a
bless you.
thrill to have you
Oh my
on the
goodness.
an
show.
absolute
It's so
thrill
good to
to have
see you.
It's good to see you.
Every time it's great to see you. And
Thank you.
thank
And
you
we're going
so
to
much.
feed you.
What?
We're all going out for supper tonight.
and thanks for making the trip. Really, I mean that's it's
Oh,
above and
yes.
beyond. To be
Well, I wanted
Yeah,
to
thank
support
you,
you in the
darling.
beginning, but then I had just moved and it was like, oh no, I'm missing your show because I had just moved to Santa Fe.
Right.
And
well, we're back and we're better.
yes, you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a real joy.
I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Thank
yeah.
you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know I love you both so
yes,
much.
love you to death.
These other cameras.